Okay, I have to admit, I've been staring at the notes for today's deep dive for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes now. And my brain is just, it's refusing to compute. I'm hitting a wall.
Really? What's the sticking point?
It's a complete paradox.
How so?
The subject itself. We're talking about the Roland TV303, this little silver plastic box from, the early 80s.
Right.
And we know the story. This thing was an absolute disaster.
A total commercial failure.
It was meant to replace a bass guitar player, but it sounded nothing like a bass guitar. So it was discontinued almost immediately. It was basically junk.
You're right. By 1985, you could pick these up in pawn shops for $50 because nobody wanted them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Paperweights. But then I look at our source material, Ep.5 of the Acid House story, the finale from 786 Music. And the date on this documentary is now. It's 2026. And they aren't talking about this box as some museum piece. They're describing it as futuristic. They're saying the sound is thriving.
It is strange, isn't it? We usually think of old tech as obsolete.
Yeah, an old iPhone doesn't get more relevant with time.
It becomes a brick. But the 303 has done the complete opposite.
So that's the mission for this deep dive. I want to understand how a failed bass synth from 40 years ago is supposedly the sound of the future in 2026.
It's a great question.
And, I mean, reading the notes, are we really going to talk about country music today?
Oh, we are absolutely going to talk about country music.
Okay, I am incredibly skeptical about that part, but I trust you. Let's dive in.
So to set the stage, this documentary finale is called The Future.
Right.
And the core argument they made is that the acid sound, that specific resonant squelch, has transcended its genre.
So it's not just for Acid House anymore.
Not at all. It's become a texture, a fundamental building block of modern sound.
Before we get to the texture and the Cowboys, let's talk about the landscape right now.
Yeah.
In 2026.
Sure.
I think for a lot of people, when you say Acid House, you picture a warehouse in 1988, smiley faces, smoke machines. It feels very retro.
It does.
What does this scene actually look like today, according to the source?
It's splintered. That's the key insight from the episode. It's not one single monoculture anymore.
So it's branched out.
Yeah, the documentary breaks it down into these really distinct subgenres that serve totally different functions. It's actually fascinating how they've evolved.
Okay, walk me through them. What are the big ones?
So on one end, you've got lo-fi acid. This is a huge reaction to how polished music production became over the last decade.
Oh, right. The early 2020s, everything was super clean, perfect pitch correction, zero noise.
Sterile.
It sounded like it was made in the laboratory. You couldn't hear the room.
Exactly. So lo-fi acid is the rebellion against that.
Yeah.
Artists are intentionally using vintage gear or emulating it to get the hiss, the hum.
The noise of the circuitry?
Yes. They want the music to sound physically degraded. They want the artifacts.
So it's like the vinyl revival, but for the creation process. You want the dust.
You want the dust. The documentary calls it textural warmth. But then if you swing to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you have acid techno.
And I'm guessing that's the high energy stuff?
The highest. This is designed for massive festival systems. Harder, faster.
So not subtle.
Not at all. The 303 lines here they're weaponized. It's about physical impact in a crowd of 20,000 people. It's designed to rattle your ribcage.
Okay, so you have the gritty, intimate bedroom listening with lo-fi and the massive stadium experience with techno. But there was a third one in the notes that caught me off guard.
Ambient acid.
Ambient acid. To me, those words are opposites. Acid is aggressive. Ambient is chill. How does that work?
This is one of the most fascinating evolutions they talk about. Think about what a TV303 actually does. It creates this shifting, resonant tone.
Right.
Now, what happens if you take away the aggressive 44 kick drum? Just strip the drums out entirely. What are you left with?
You're left with just a synthesizer line that's sort of morphing on its own.
Precisely. You're left with beatless 303 explorations. It becomes a psychedelic soundscape.
I see.
They describe producers slowing the tempo way, way down, soaking the sound in reverb, and just letting those filter sweeps wash over you.
It turns the squelch into something meditative.
It does. I never thought about the machine that way either. I always associate it with the rhythm.
The driving beat, yeah. But if you isolate that tone, it really is very fluid.
And that fluidity is actually causing a bit of a civil war in the community. The episode highlights this. You've got the purists versus the neo-acid crowd.
Let me guess. The purists think if it wasn't made on tape in Chicago in 1987, it isn't real acid.
Pretty much. They want that specific, dry, hypnotic sound of the original hardware. They want simple sequencing.
Okay.
But the neo-acid producers, they don't care about the rules.
They're using modern tools.
Modern production, crisp digital effects, complex polyrhythms. The purists hate it because it's too clean, but the neo-crowd says, look, evolution is the only way the genre survives.
It's the classic tradition versus
Innovation. The classic battle.
But it seems like you need both, right?
Yeah.
If you only have tradition, it becomes a museum exhibit. But if you only have innovation, you lose the soul.
And that tension keeps the scene vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really shocking, and this gets back to your earlier point, is the genre bleed.
Yes, the country music things. Please explain this to me. I cannot mentally connect a cowboy hat and a rave synthesizer.
I know it sounds absurd on paper, but the documentary makes a really compelling music theory argument.
Okay.
Think about the sonic role of, say, a distorted electric guitar or a pedal steel in modern country.
Sure, it's that mid-range, resonant, bending sound, the twang.
Exactly, the twang, that cutting sound. Well, acoustically speaking, the squelch of an acid line occupies that exact same frequency range.
Right, really.
It cuts through the mix and the mid-range in the same way.
So producers are just swapping the twang for the squelch.
Basically, yeah. They're using it as a texture. You might hear a trap beat or a pop track or even a modern country song, and buried in the background is a filter sweep from a 303.
So it's not there to make it a dance track.
No, it's there because that sound has become a universal cultural language.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's like how distortion started as a rock and roll thing,
Yeah.
but now you hear it on vocals and hip-hop, on drums and pop.
It just becomes a color in the palette.
The 303 has graduated from being a genre definer to being a timbre.
A universally understood sound. It just signals energy or motion to the listener now, no matter the genre.
Okay, so the sound is everywhere in 2026. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room. We can't do a deep dive on technology in 2026 without talking about AI.
The AI question.
The documentary brings it up. And my first thought was, well, acid house seems like the easiest genre for an AI to make.
Because it's repetitive.
Yeah, it's math-based, it's sequenced. Surely an AI can generate a perfect acid track.
The source material says yes and no. And the distinction they make is really, really critical to understanding why we still care about this music.
Okay, break it down for me.
An AI can, well, it can certainly generate the patterns. It can program the notes. It knows the scales. It knows the rules.
Right. If you prompt it, write a 1988 Chicago acid line, it'll spit one out.
And it will be a technically perfect sequence of notes.
Right.
But the documentary argues that AI cannot perform acid house.
Perform. Electronic music. You just press play. Where's the performance?
See, that's the misconception. And this is the technical heart of the episode. The magic of a TB-303 is not the notes on the sequencer.
It's the knobs.
It is the real-time manipulation of the knobs, specifically the cutoff frequency and the resonance.
Okay, let's define those for anyone who isn't a synth nerd. What do those knobs actually do?
Sure. Think of the cutoff knob like a door between you and the sound.
Okay.
When the knob is all the way down, the door is closed. The sound is muffled, dark. As you turn it up, you open the door, the sound gets brighter, sharper, more present.
Got it. So cutoff is brightness. What about resonance?
Resonance is the emphasis right at that cutoff point. It's the whine, the scream, the squelch.
So that's where the squelch comes from.
That's it. When you turn up the resonance, you're making the filter sing. You're exaggerating that point where the door is opening.
Okay, so how is that the human part?
Well, a human player twists those knobs in reaction to the moment. They feel the tension in the room. They hold back the drop because the crowd isn't ready, or they slam the resonance open because the energy spikes.
It's a feedback loop.
Between the human, the machine, and the audience, and the AI.
The AI doesn't have the room. It doesn't have the feeling.
Exactly. It can simulate a filter sweep, maybe program it to open slowly over 16 bars, but it can't decide to just jerk the knob to the right because someone in the front row screamed.
That micro timing.
That trembling hand on the pot. That is what the documentary calls performance art.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's the difference between a player piano, which hits the notes perfectly, and a concert pianist who interprets the emotion between the notes. Precisely. The source argues that even in an age of total automation, we crave that human error. We want to hear the machine being wrestled with.
We want to hear the struggle.
Yeah.
Speaking of wrestling with the machine, let's talk about how we're experiencing this sound, because apparently stereo is old news. The immersion section of the notes kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Spatial audio. This is where the technology of 2026 really shines. We're talking Dolby Atmos, binaural recording.
Object-based audio.
Object-based audio.
So you're treating a sound not as left speaker or right speaker, but as an object in 3D space.
Correct. So in these new acid tracks, the producer can take that 303 bass line and literally tell the system, put this sound 3 feet above the listener's head and spin it in a circle.
That sounds nauseating. In a good way.
It's intense. The documentary describes it as a 3D psychedelic effect.
Which makes sense. Acid house has always been about disorientation, losing yourself in the sound.
And now the sound literally wraps around you. It circles you, dives below you. It enhances that trippy quality by orders of magnitude.
And the visuals are keeping pace with this.
Oh, completely. The aesthetic has moved from photocopied flyers to the digital realm. NFTs, virtual reality art installations.
But the vibe is the same.
The core vibe, the bright neon, the distorted imagery, the smiley faces, it's all still there. It's just migrated platforms.
It's interesting that the visuals are high-tech, the audio is spatial, but the core sound is still this ancient circuit design. Which brings me to the hardware.
The hardware revival.
Yeah. You said the original units were expensive collector's items. Is that still true?
Not really, and that's a huge reason why the genre is growing.
Well, how so? For a while, everyone was just using software, right?
Yeah.
Plugins on a laptop.
Right. But there's been a huge swing back to physical gear. But here's the twist. It's not just about buying a $3,000 vintage Roland.
Okay.
It's about the democratization of the circuit. The 303 design is effectively open source now.
Open source, you mean the actual schematics?
Yes. The patents are long gone. The community has reverse engineered every single capacitor and resistor. You can go online, download the board design, buy the parts, and solder your own 303.
Wow.
Or you can buy super affordable clones from companies like Behringer or the Roland Boutique line.
That's significant. It means the secret sauce isn't secret anymore.
It ensures the instrument can literally never go extinct. As long as we have solder and silicon, we can make 303s. It's like the violin, the design is public domain. Anyone can build one.
And because it's so accessible, it's migrating. We talked about country music, but the notes mention even stranger places, these new contexts.
Yeah.
You have to explain the wellness thing to me.
It ties back to that ambient acid we discussed.
So, meditation apps are using this. I'm picturing a yoga class with a TB303, and it feels aggressive.
Well, strip away the cultural baggage of the rave for a second. What is the sound? It's a resonant, evolving frequency.
Okay.
Is that so different from a Tibetan singing bowl? Or a chanting monk? It's a drone.
A very squelchy singing bowl.
Yeah. If you filter it right, if you soften the attack and add a ton of reverb, it's incredibly hypnotic. It helps focus the mind.
So museums, too. For art installation.
Exactly. And even orchestras.
No way.
That was the ultimate validation for me. Classical composers writing scores that include a 303 soloist alongside the violin section.
That is wild. That's like when the electric guitar was finally accepted into the conservatory.
It marks that transition from noise to instrument. It proves that acid has escaped dance music culture. It's just culture, period.
So we have this machine that is everywhere. Country music, orchestras, VR headsets. But I want to get to the why. This is the philosophy part of the deep dive. The expert in the documentary makes a really bold prediction. The Roland TB303 will basically never die. Why?
This is the core paradox we started with. How does a machine sound human? The expert argues that the 303 is the most organic-sounding electronic instrument ever made.
Organic is a weird word for a plastic box.
It is. But look at the adjectives the source uses to describe it. Liquid, wet, biological, gurgling.
Those are very bodily functions.
They are, and that's the point. Most synthesizers sound like geometry. They sound like squares and triangles and saws. Sharp, precise.
But the 303 sounds like it's squishing.
It morphs. It mimics the human vocal tract.
The vocal tract.
How? Think about it. When you speak and you change the shape of your mouth to make vowel sounds, ooh, ooh, you're essentially applying a filter to the sound from your vocal cords.
You're changing the resonance of your mouth.
Yes. The 303 does the exact same thing, just electrically. It sounds like a strange little voice saying, wow, 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 or yo, yo, yo.
So subconsciously, we don't hear a robot. We hear a weird little creature.
We hear a creature. The source argues we bridge the gap between the mechanical and the natural through this one specific circuit. It's an expressive electronic voice.
And that is a beautiful irony. Roland tried to make a machine that sounded like a bass guitar, a stringed instrument, and failed.
Miserably.
But by failing, they accidentally made a machine that sounds like a living organism.
And that's why it won't die. We connect with it emotionally. It can sound aggressive. It can sound sad. It can sound joyful just by how you tweak that resonance knob
It's expressive.
in a way that a generic beep or boop just isn't.
It really makes you appreciate the happy accidents in history. If Roland had actually succeeded, if they had made a perfect bass guitar simulator,
Nobody would remember the model number. It would be in a landfill. Its perfection is literally in its failure.
So, zooming out, this series, The Acid House Story, wraps up with this futuristic outlook. It feels like a pretty complete journey they've taken us on.
It does. They covered the accident of its discovery, the explosion in the UK, the global rave scene, and now this idea of the 303 as a permanent fixture. It's a great arc.
But for those listening who are sad this specific series is over, the notes did drop a little teaser.
They did. 786 Music is not stopping. The source indicates the next documentary series will be the trance story.
From the beaches of Goa to Armin van Buuren.
The journey into euphoria. I'm sure there will be plenty of supersaw synths to unpack there.
I can already hear the breakdowns. But before we sign off, I want to leave the listener with a thought that really struck me during this.
Okay.
We talked about the organic nature of the 303, the biological sound.
Right.
We live in a world in 2026 that is increasingly digital, right? High resolution, AI corrected, 8K, perfectly smoothed out.
Everything is perfect.
And maybe, just maybe, the reason this 40-year-old plastic box is thriving isn't despite its imperfections, it's because of them.
We're starving for the messiness.
Exactly. In a perfect digital future, we don't want perfect machines. We want machines that squeal and struggle and scream like living things. We want the ghost in the machine.
It reminds me of the sign-off from the hosts in the documentary itself. A simple rule.
But maybe the only one that matters in music.
The vibe is the only rule.
Vibe is the only rule. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep those filters open.
See you next time.